Happy New Year! Yes, Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Here we go. Yes.
Well, folks, this is the best show on Blog Talk and the best show on the internet. Shut up. Nobody, and I mean nobody, tackles issues like inflammatory talk. Shut up. And Mr. Midnight Movie. Shut up. And Jewish producer.
Hello, son.
Shut up. We tackle the things that nobody tackles.
Hello, son.
The man answers.
Hello, son.
Stop walking on eggshells. Shut up.
Hello, son.
Goofy Bone can get off his bloviated fat enchilada ass and start talking about La Raza.
Hello, son.
And jocking it, Pink Daddy Joe P. And jocking it, Pink Daddy Joe P. Whipping the skipping all day long.
We're making a movie about white guilt. We're going to examine all these facts. Shut up. The civil rights movement today basically protects criminals.
Okay, stop interrupting me.
We're making a movie about white guilt.
Okay, stop interrupting me.
Shut up. We're making a movie about white guilt.
Done in a beautiful fashion, the documentary, at the same time, both prose and poetry.
It's not the noble movement that it was.
I'm above you on all these issues. I've been to the military. I have served in the capacity to protect your rights to bloviate. To protect your rights to bloviate.
Who are you to tell me what my style is, you meth addict?
I've been to the military.
How do you know I'm a meth addict?
I'm above you on all these issues.
How do you know I'm a meth addict?
You haven't served in the military. In fact, you wouldn't be fit for the military.
I'm a racist, and I don't consider myself a special person.
What's this got to do with the price of rice in China?
Well, I'm just telling you, I'm a better man than you are.
You're a narcissist. We've established that.
Okay, stop interrupting me. You could not defend the very rights you enjoy. You are the ultimate invalid.
I could be stalking you. I'm wondering why Mr. Solutions is not at a daily show.
What's this got to do with the price of rice in China?
Money. I'm into aviation. Money.
Power.
Money.
Power.
Man boob.
Shut up.
I see why Sick the Tank daddies kicked his ass and kicked him out of the house early on.
Man boob.
Shut up.
I'm going to talk over you as loud as I can. I've got my speaker full blast.
Blowing you away.
Shut up.
Mr. Midnight Movie.
My name is Delano. I have killed this Midnight Movie. I stabbed that son of a bitch.
This is
Money.
Power.
Money.
Power.
tired.
Money.
Power.
Money.
Yes, folks, welcome. Welcome. I am here for the predictions. A lot of you, by the way, will be coming in late. There are a lot of people that were going to be here, but I don't think they could make it. You know, they are having parties out here, and I'm out here by my lonesome. I do have to get up early in the morning. I work the holidays. One of the reasons I work the holidays is, you know what, as respect for a lot of people out there work the holidays. I am working January 1st, and I do it out of respect for a lot of workers that are out there. I work Christmas, I work New Year's, I work Easter, I work, just about every holiday you could possibly imagine. I work it. So, you know what? I'm gonna give a few of the people a little bit of time. So I'm gonna go into the top film releases. I'm just gonna go 1 through 10. Kind of surprised that some of these films made the money they did with the kind of reviews they got, but they still they still were in the top 10. And that doesn't, because the kind of money that they spend on them, that doesn't mean that they've even made their money back. As a matter of fact, I think some of these films actually lost money with how much money they spent in making it. And it has to make I don't know why this figure is, but a film has to make 3 to 4 times, or at least someone said 3 times its money back to even break even. So I'm gonna go back to 2018, and we're gonna look at what was the top 10 money makers, the top 10 box office, and we'll go with number 10, which is Venom, a Marvel film. It didn't get really. I mean, the critics basically panned this movie, and I don't see anyone here. So, like I said, I don't think anyone's going to show up probably because people are out partying, which I can't do. I have to go to bed early. I actually told Liz that I would do a show at 8:30, but she's late too. Boo-hoo-hoo. So it might be a little bit shorter than usual. But number 10 is Venom. And that film, like I said, got panned by the critics. And I don't think it broke even. No, I think this one might have broke even because it was quite a bit cheaper. Number 9 is Solo, a Star Wars story. And this film, even though it's number 9, it basically it didn't break even because they spent a boatload of money on this, and this film also was very much a disappointment. And I wonder if this is a top 10 box office films. Let me see. Two releases. Okay, yeah, sorted by box office of descending. Okay, so yeah, number 9 is Solo, and number 8, this film did make its money back. Ant-Man and the Wasp. This film, another sequel, another Marvel film, and it did make its money back. I don't think they spent quite as much money as they spent on some of these other films. Number 7 is Mission Impossible. And this is, I forget his last name. It might be John or John Ann. This was his number 1 film, by the way. Mission Impossible Fallout. A lot of people really enjoyed the action in this film. Mission Impossible 7 Fallout. Number 6 was The Grinch. And I had predicted this, even though it got really bad reviews. I knew that it would be a big moneymaker just because the animation and things like that. But it was number 6. Okay, going into number 5, it was Deadpool. And this film definitely also made its money back. This one made $324 million. Next one is Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. That made $416 million. Number 3, The Incredibles 2, $608 million. Number 2 is Infinity Wars, Avengers Infinity Wars, and that made $678 million. And then we have number 1 is Black Panther. That made over $700 million, and it will continue to make money. Now, I guess nobody's going to be showing up, or people aren't going to be showing up. So I'm not going to be even playing the trailers. I'm just going to go. Oh. Oh, and Happy New Year. Oh, and I should tell her no, I don't. Oops. And I'm just speaking to my friend here, Ruthie. And let me just. I'm gonna put my my show in the thing here. I'm just saying no that I don't have enough people for the panel. So I think what I'll do first. Oh, JP did call me. Did JP call me? Let's see if JP called me. And I don't think he's going to answer. All right, I'm going to go. And folks, yeah, you know what? And I'm going to say you're right. Anyway, I'm going to, and just going to ask real quickly if Ruthie would like to join. If not, that's okay. And I'm going to say it's just me right now, so I'm talking to just me. Anyway, and like I said, I hope to do this once a month, and I know yes, no one else showed up. A lot of people have been late, and that's fine. And you know what? That's what happens. I'm going to do the films real quick. I'm going to go over. All right. Anyway, let me bring in Ruthie. I'll see if I'm going to bring her in. And yeah, I'm going to go step by step on. Let me take some water real quick. You know what? I think I might. Okay, let's see. One thing. All right. Anyway, yeah, we do have dead silence coming from the radio. I'm going to call her right now and just say, you know what? Let me just call her right now.
Hello?
Hello. Hey, Ruthie, we are live, if that's okay. I am on the show right now. I'm on my prediction show for 2019. And I'm just going over... I guess the top 10 films. I don't know if you're familiar with any of the movies that are coming out, or if cinema's your thing.
Well, I didn't know you were going to call me live.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want me to wait?
A few minutes.
All right, you know what? Let me. You know what?
Give me 5 minutes.
Yeah, Ruthie, I'll do my movie. I'll do my movie thing because I don't think you're as into that, and then I'll give you a call.
Superb, and that'll give me a chance to get a glass of water.
Very well. Let me do that. Let me go over my top 10 films that I think are going to be the box office, and then I'll come in and we'll go over politics.
Great. And also do me a favor, and it's wise not to say things like, do you know about this and do you know about that? Because if the person, me or anyone, doesn't know, when you do an open-ended question like that, then you have dead silence, and that's worse than ever.
You're right on that. You're right on that. All right, Ruthie, I will call you back in about 5 to 10, maybe even 15 minutes.
Superb. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
All right, so I'm back. I'm sorry for this delay. You know, it is radio, and I promise to be. Hey, guys, I am not eating any peanut butter. I do have rather dry mouth, just due to the fact that I'm diabetic, so it does sound like my mouth is It does sound like my mouth is rather dry. I do apologize for that. I know that Willie is always saying that I sound like I'm eating peanut butter or I'm smacking my lips, and I really don't want to do that. So let me jump right in to my picks for the top 10 films that I think are going to make it really big into the box office. I just put this one together, and okay. So I think the number 10 film for 2019, and I could be completely wrong on this, but I think it's going to be Glass. I'm going to play the trailer for that.
Elijah's changed over the years. He's given up. We keep him heavily sedated. But there is a reason for that. He's too smart for them.
You won't be lonely anymore. You have 2 new friends.
The 3 of you think you have extraordinary gifts, like something out of a comic book. I've developed an effective treatment for this disorder. The light will force a different identity to take over.
Senora, I want my headphones back. Step away from the controls now, little doctor. Get big to be!
So you're not going to shake my hand and let me walk out of here?
Good for you. What do you want?
I'm here to see if tales of the extraordinary being are true. May I meet the beast?
I'm Barry Reynolds.
I need your abilities to get us all out of here and show the world we exist. That sounds like the bad guys teaming up. Do you believe you are an avenging angel, partner? I won't avenge us.
I have to get out of here before he gets out.
They are contained. They always underestimate the mastermind.
It has begun, David. I found someone who will require your full attention. You shouldn't be hiding in the shadows. You might want to try and stop us. A lot of people are going to die.
Now, we'd like a PB and J sandwich.
We're not meant to have this much power.
Finally, all of us together for the world to see what we are capable of. You need to get out of here.
What have you done, Elijah?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, and I think it will make a profit. I'm not going to play all these. Number 9 is going to be Captain Marvel. There's a female Captain Marvel. I think it'll be number 9 on the list. Number 8, Shazam. I just think that will certainly, the trailer looks interesting, and I don't want to play the trailer. I think people should take a look at it, but I think it will be a rather interesting film. JP. JP, how you doing? I'm just going over my list.
Yeah, so far this show, and I'm just going to throw this out there for maybe for the audience to determine, but so far this show is maybe the worst you've ever done.
You know what? You might be right on that, JP.
Yeah. Are you trying to break a record, or is it just a mere coincidence that you just suck?
You know what? I'm trying to break the record for being awful. And you're,
Nice. Okay.
now what do you find? You know what? Right now it is 2018. I've already done the worst show of the year, so it can't get any worse than here. And it's my fault for being lazy. I was lazy. So
that's it.
Yes.
That's the story of the inflammatory talk story right there.
Lazy.
So what is this horrible clip you just played? It sounded awful. This droning piano music, just barely underscoring your lip smacking. Just horrible stuff.
I'm sorry for that, JP. And Ruthie's going to be joining us in a few minutes.
Oh, good. So there's a chance here.
There is a chance that the show may be saved from the monotony.
What she said to you is right. I mean, you should know better, man. You know how to run your next time somebody says that, go, don't ask them. I'm going to call you after I do my movie thing. Then I'll call you.
You're right. And you know what? This was poorly planned on my part. I apologize to the audience, and I apologize to my guests for not being as prepared as I could be. Let's
do this.
Okay, number 7 is Wicked. It was a really top play. The seats for the theater were outrageous. Number 6 will be, in my opinion, Dumbo. I think that's the story of JP's life.
Yes.
Look at the trailer. It's really interesting. I don't want to play any more trailers. I might play. No, I'm not going to do that. Because some of these films don't have trailers yet. They only have synopses of them. Number 5, I believe the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. It's a different take. It might even be R-rated. So there's going to be a lot of buzz for that film, in my opinion. Number 4 is going to be, in my opinion, Frozen 2. I think that is going to make, all the little girls are going to go nuts over it, and they're going to see that. Number 3 is going to be Star Wars Episode 9. I believe that film, even though the last film people railed against it, there's going to be a lot of interest in what's going to be done, and it's back to the same director who J.J. Abrams, who directed the first of this trilogy. So I think we're back. He's back in the driver's seat, and I think that he is. I think he's going to pull it off, and people are just interested to see what's going to happen. Number 2, just on the trailers alone, King of Monsters is going to be Godzilla. King of Monsters, I think, is going to be number 2, and it's going to make way for Godzilla versus King Kong, or King Kong versus Godzilla. And then number 1, I think, will be Avengers Endgame. Just because it was number 2 last time, and it's got a lot of buzz. A lot of people have seen it on Netflix, and also that the number 1 film last year was Black Panther. For this year, 2019, was Black Panther. Now I'm going to bring in Ruthie.
Hold on a second.
Yes.
You forgot to mention this horrible idea for making a new Men in Black film. And it's, I don't know. I think it's going to make a lot of money, but if you don't have these original, the original stars of the Men in Black movie, you have Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson, and Liam Neeson are the 3 main. I'm not looking forward to that, and I really liked the Men in Black series.
I did as well, but I don't. Yeah, and it may make a ton of money. But film, I was looking. I don't know how much you listen, but I was talking about the films before, the grosses before, and Solo, which got panned, was number 9.
Yeah.
On.
I mean, I don't know if that's like some kind of sleeper film.
Well, I'll tell you
what, or was it just totally like just really horrible?
The film cost over $100. Yeah, the film cost over $100 million, so it didn't make its money back. And films today cost quite a bit more money than they have in the past.
$100 million. It's weird that a movie like that could come and go. It cost $100 million to make. Think about that.
Yeah, it cost
and
over
I never
$100
even
million.
heard like it was in the movies, but it wasn't like. It wasn't like every time I turned on the TV, they were go see Han Solo. Nobody told me it was a good movie, so I have no idea. Nobody told me it was bad.
Now you are an accountant. I mean, you've worked as an accountant before, and you've worked on films before. I mean, and why is it? Because I've always been curious. Because it's always been said to me that a film has to make like 3 times the money that's spent on it to break even. What is the cost there? Why is it that a film has to make so much more of its money back to break even?
Well, you probably don't want to hear this, but when I was working at Gramercy in the accounting department there, I worked on The Big Lebowski. But prior to that, I was with Polygram. I worked on The Game, and both those places. And when I worked at Fox later, I worked on the international theatrical release of Star Wars. So it was like the late 90s. I'll just say this. In all 3 cases, all 3 of those major studios all lied about their numbers.
Like how much money they were making, or did they make more?
Oh, yeah. They would get called out. Other companies would get called out almost weekly. If you read kept up in Variety, or one of those magazines where the numbers are reported for films. And back then it was in the 90s, it was super competitive. Totally aging myself. But
did they now, by the way, did they lie?
I don't know if it's still like that, but when you're playing with such huge numbers, I would say it's probably easier to just throw numbers out there and hope nobody calls you out for them.
Yeah. Now, by the way, did they lie on how well the films were doing and stuff? Did they lie like?
Oh, yeah. It was very competitive. They would always say the number that they can get away with. Very rarely. And at the time, it wasn't until later when I was working with, more production numbers. But from what I saw, it was very hard to tell. Just like if in the case of The Big Lebowski, it had a good rap, so you knew it was doing great. You saw the lines. You kind of had an idea that what they were reporting was pretty accurate. But then there were other movies I worked on. I just didn't get the numbers. Mr. Bean made way over maybe 200 or 300 million. I'll have to look that one up. But I worked on Mr. Bean, and it seemed like nobody saw that movie, but the numbers were huge.
It looked awful
worldwide.
Because you hung around people that were cool, but you know what? All the dorks, they all saw. We like A Midnight Cowboy.
Accounting is known for being cool.
Yeah. Now, let's bring on Ruthie, because we're going to talk about economics, and then we're going to go right in to who is going to be. Liz is here, so.
Please navigate the conversation, please. Just, just make sure it's going somewhere so we don't drift off into Neverland. That's all I ask.
Yes.
Because we can go a lot of places with the economy, the economics. So
yeah.
Spray it around.
So here we go.
So who else was supposed to show up?
Oh, we had...
Did Willie flake on you?
What's that?
Did Willie flake on you? That bastard? Willie, don't flake. No, who's supposed to call in?
I thought did you call me or did I call you? Here we go. And then...
Mr. Midnight Movie's obviously drunk tonight.
Sorry, folks.
Too much eggnog.
What is... JP, I forgot. Let me see.
Yes.
What is Ruthie's number? What is Ruthie's?
It's 666-6666.
No. I don't want a number. Got it. I'm losing my head here, folks. I'm sorry, folks. Let's see here.
It's the diabetes. Calm down, listeners.
Yes, I'm sorry, folks. I'm having a little bit of.
Hello.
Hey. I'm having a little bit of mental.
Right, mental butter.
It's I can't even remember the name of it because I gotta search for it on my thing.
Mental butter.
No.
Mental butter is
what is Ruthie's?
all right.
What is Ruthie's tag? What is Ruthie's tag thing?
Her name is Mental Butter.
Not Mental Butter, please. Come on, guys. I'm sorry.
Syndicated news.
Okay. There we go. All right, let me add. Sorry, folks. I'm having mental.
By the way, he was invited for tri-tip tonight. He flakes on me.
Yes.
And you turned that down because
We'll drive out here.
I have to get up early in the morning. I have to get up at like 3:30.
Why do you have to get up early in the morning?
I work at that early time. Hey, no, I just want to say that Liz is here. We have Liz from the WTF.
I didn't notice at first, but now that you mention it, hey, what's up, Liz?
We have Liz.
What's going on?
And then
I hope we're all missing our pants tonight.
Yes,
nobody has pants.
All right, folks.
Oh, good.
Can we keep it? Okay, I just want to say that. Can we keep it kind of clean? Now we do. Is Ruthie here from?
How clean?
Filthy woman.
Yeah. No, guys.
Yes, I'm here.
All right.
Oh,
Sorry.
hi, Ruthie.
What's up, Ruthie?
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I was waiting for you to come back. Everyone missed you.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm glad to be back.
Yes. So,
all right, so we got Liz, we got Ruthie, Mr. Midnight Movie, and I'm Jewish producer.
All right.
Where are we going with
this? Let's go to this by the round table here. What will the economy look like for 2019? Bear? Will it be a bear or will it be a bull? Let's go with Liz at the WTF network. What is the economy going to look like? If you have any opinion on it.
I'm sorry. What did you just say?
I said, what is your prediction on the economy? Will it be a bull, a bear, or something in between?
My prediction on the economy, I think the economy will go through a slump after Christmas like it normally does every single year. I think that the economy in general is doing okay considering before Trump's election, when you look at the market rates and all that, I mean, still it's a lot lower. What would it be, 4,000 points still up in NASDAQ, and things like that. But I think we'll go through your normal average post-Christmas holiday, post-shopping slump. They'll probably see a decline in the market, or probably volatile again, because it still has some correcting to do. But I don't think that we're going to do poorly, and I think Trump will win the next election.
Very well. JP, any thoughts?
I usually, look at these real weird December. The whole year was a weird year for investing. So there were, but towards the end of the year, 5% swings in the market was really probably unnerving for a lot of people. So, but it's a December. I still want to say it's a December thing. Sales are going to be I think companies made a lot of money the holiday season. It's just a different dynamic because it's all, I think so much of it, not all, but so much of it is online, but you still have a lot of people out there buying stuff at stores. So it's probably just very confusing to figure out exactly where the market is at, but I think it's good. I think
I agree. It is confusing. It's the same thing that happens every year. It gets really confusing around Christmas time. You got to look at how many people or how many people probably went into debt. Personally, from what I have seen when I was looking around, a lot of people were paying cash. We paid cash for everything for Christmas. And a lot of people that just by kind of looking at them who probably wouldn't have been able to spend that kind of money before. I mean, there were stores that were wiped out clean. And I haven't seen action like that for the longest time. So I think that's a sign that the job market is doing well, and I think that's a sign that less people will probably be in debt this year after Christmas. So I think that overall it'll probably end up this time next year the same, but in a slightly better position.
Ruthie, do you have any predictions for the economy for 2019?
The fact that the president is someone everyone hates, President Trump, isn't going to affect money, and everything will stay very, very stable.
I agree.
And as much as they dislike him, he is answering the call of what is the true silent majority. And with any woman, and let's face it, women run all the homes in the United States.
Yeah.
Men don't. The woman runs the home. There are some things that haven't changed. As much as we might want to be politically correct and we want to be modern, women run money, and a woman requires at all times safety. And that is what President Trump offered, and that's what he's given. And I really believe promises given and promises kept. People wanted to have money in their wallet again. Their 401ks skyrocketed. Everything that had to deal with their jobs and how much expendable cash they had, that all increased. People feel that. You want to really convince someone? Put some money in their wallet. And that's how convincing really, really works. That's what's happened this time. People are not going to go back to having less cash.
They don't want to go back to
right
that.
now. Absolutely not.
No, I agree. In their 401ks, even though you may have seen a slump in your investments and your stocks over the last couple of months, it's still a lot better position than it was before Donald Trump got elected. Not to say I like the guy. I'm not. And the more I get to know him, I'm not too big into the guy personally. However, my emotions don't speak to my wallet, and I fully agree with Ruthie on that one.
Did you hear what she said? Her emotions don't speak to her wallet. Listen, that's America speaking. Listen to her.
Yeah. Well,
it also highlights that how the media, though, has kind of spun things not in the big picture where the market is overall has done well since Trump's been in presidency, but they're so focused on a 5% overall drop or 6% overall drop in the market in 2018, which to me is just a big correction. That's all it is.
And we were that's totally normal. Yeah, it was due to be volatile. We already knew that. And anybody who plays the game of the stock markets knew that. That's all they've been talking about is this market is due for a correction. And, there was too much excitement. And you have to remember that the market is played off of several different things. You always have to wonder what you don't know, why people are making decisions, what the insider traders know. And a lot of it has to do based off relationships and politics. Not all of it, but most of it does. So, investing, though, and where you take away from that and where you want to get into more intelligent investing is what's going on locally in the United States versus trade with China. If you're going to be a huge investor in soybeans and things like that, things are going to play out a little differently from you than you're going to say if you wanted to get into real estate investments or something like that here locally. So, and if that's the way you want to play it, that's the way you want to play it. But I don't think, I don't think anything terrible is going to happen. So I think we're going to be just fine. And I think Trump will get reelected, especially since I heard Elizabeth Warren was running today. I think I read that somewhere. So.
Well, and of course, if she does win that, that the jokes, SNL is going to have a field day. Hopefully they get politically incorrect on that stuff because that would be pretty hysterical. I think. In
Flo in the chat room, and I'm so sorry to interrupt Mr. Midnight Movie, goes, my 401k was the same as it was before. Well, you can have a low risk, medium risk. You can invest in different sorts of portfolios. And if your 401k was the same as before, I want to say you were probably invested in a low risk portfolio, meaning if the market goes head up, then you won't. But if it does extremely great, then you won't. So check your investing options. That's what I think. If you're not feeling a difference here in investments, I would suggest looking at what your 401k is vested in. So sorry, Mr. Midnight Movie, go ahead.
Yeah. This before
I was just going to say the commenter made another comment. They said it's a good time to buy, which is correct. But I said it's also a good time to be a seller. Explain that. So it's good on both sides.
It is. That's accurate.
Do you think anything's going to happen with cryptocurrency or anything like that?
I don't know. Maybe. It would depend. It would depend on, and the thing is with cryptocurrency, I think cryptocurrency is heavily dependent on how the technology sector does. And you'll find, I feel like, a good trend with how fast we develop in technology. You'll find that cryptocurrency becomes, the trend is equally as popular.
I'm going to say that I know what Ruthie is going to say, and that
you have no idea what I'm going to say.
I do. I think I know, because 1 in 7 1 in 7 Chinese now are invested in Bitcoin. So
That's
you
right.
sent me some stuff.
No, not Bitcoin. Cryptocurrency.
Oh, cryptocurrency. I'm so,
Yeah,
no, but they also legal. What was it? There was an issue though with Bitcoin, I think, right? Also, or just cryptocurrency.
You can pay your Starbucks in like Bitcoin.
Wait.
Cryptocurrencies. Right now there are about 1,200 of them, and 200 or 300 die at a time, and 300 come back, and 4 were just invested in by a very well-known investor here in the United States, and they were all Ethereum based. And
I know Einsteinium got.
I don't like to
Einsteinium was a good one.
With my age and my experience, but you can't help that if you've lived longer, you've done more things, and you've had more opportunities, simply because you've been here more time. You've had more time to be on this earth. And long ago, when most of you were probably toddlers, I was involved in the internet when it first arrived. And now the same thing is happening with cryptocurrency. At the time, cryptographers were blocked out of everything back then. And they just up and left the country. And the American politicians and bankers thought, if we can block these cryptographers, that'll be the end of it. No, it wasn't the end of it. They simply took their toys, went home, went to other countries where they flourished. And those businesses have done very, very well. And I keep reminding the Reserve, the International Monetary Fund, and general banks that if they don't embrace cryptocurrencies, we're all simply going to take our toys and go home and go to another country. It's as simple as that.
I agree.
I only go where my money makes sense and where my money is allowed to flourish. I did the same thing with the internet. When I had Domain Avenue and the United States decided, Network Solutions, that a bunch of kids that shared their apartments with a bunch of lawyers from the DOJ, they were all in their early 30s, they decided that my 60,000 generic domains would be better served in the hands of Network Solutions than myself, even though I had registered them. They decided that I should have my company arbitraged. Well, isn't that sweet? I moved it out of the country.
I feel like I'm talking to my future self.
You are, and and not only that, I will help establish you, set you on your feet, and finance you. I'm
good. I appreciate the offer. I'm totally good on that. But I do. I feel like I'm listening to myself in the future.
Good, because that's where it's going. I kept telling people, domain names, they're a real thing. Oh no, that no one's going to pay money for a little script. Really? Because I remember paying, for domains I wanted, and I remember selling domains that everyone poo-pooed and said had no value, and I sold them for ridiculous numbers, and now we're in cryptocurrency. And I attempted things here in the United States till I sat with a bunch of bankers that said to me, "Tss, tss, come here, tss, come here." I said, what is it? The state and the federal government will let you set up a cryptocurrency exchange. They let a lot of people set them up. And once you put it that, like the bond and all that stuff, they're going to cut your legs out from under you. They don't really want cryptocurrency exchanges to compete. But then I thought back when I worked at McKinsey, and I worked on one of the clients was American Express, and there was a lot of how would I say, whispering and meeting in back rooms and all that nonsense. And then all of a sudden, Western Union came out against PayPal. PayPal is only for whores and prostitution and heroin. Holy cow, where did they get that? And a smart judge said, stop that. Where did you get that idea? Western Union was bad-mouthing PayPal because PayPal was going to cut into their business. Who paid them to say such monstrosities?
Right.
Established credit card companies.
Not surprised.
And what's happening now? Every week we have to hear on all these cryptocurrency forums and all these like Bitcoin.com and CCN.com. We have to hear, yeah, the internet is fine, but Bitcoins and all the cryptocurrencies have died. No, they haven't. No, they haven't. They're flourishing everywhere but here. They're flourishing everywhere but here. I only live and I only like to work in areas where my money makes sense and where my money makes money. When my money doesn't make money, I'm gone. I don't stay in a place where I'm going to flounder, or when they say, oh, gee, the dollar or whatever currency is working in the country that I'm in at the time. Oh, it's worth 70 cents against the dollar. When I see that, I'm gone. And that's not me only. Anyone who is competing with cryptocurrency says horrific things about it. Look at Warren Buffett. What did he say? Cryptocurrency is rat poison times 2. What the heck? Why would that man say such a thing? Why would he say such a thing? And
then you have your investments placed elsewhere.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense. You can do the Buffett rule all day long, but if Buffett's rules turn out to be against cryptocurrency because Buffett doesn't like it, then, there you have it.
And Buffett thinks that he's going to live forever. And it's so cute.
He really does.
You have to listen to this person. I was told that I had to give all my attention to a Supreme Court justice who sleeps through all the sessions. And I said, everybody calm down. Take it easy. It's not Republican or Democrat. Nature itself will take its course. It's a natural process. It's a natural process. They were fighting about what McCain was saying and what President Carter was saying. Both of them suffered from brain cancer. When a person is suffering from brain cancer, I really, and please don't shoot me over this, but I don't take what they say very seriously because their brain has been damaged. Whether it's good, that's nice. Whether it's bad, that's nice too. But I treat them well and kindly and respectfully, but I'm not going to take their opinions, political or otherwise. And Americans have to learn that too. Just because, notice how creepy a person can be until it's the funeral. All of a sudden, the accolades and the obits, they're so beautiful. But the person, was a pretty miserable individual all their lives. And then when they die, then they become majestic and something that we have to look up at and fold our hands to and stop it. Stop it. People have good in them and they have bad. And politicians especially learn real fast what works and what doesn't. You will hear a politician say something in one group to one religious group and go across the street and say the exact opposite. I've seen it 1,000 times. And I've lived through many years where I've seen it again And again, most of the people fighting right now don't even know what happened in the Democratic Party 40 years ago.
No. I mean, just like when they talk about people from Cuba.
Yes.
Cuba, where the Cubans are considerably conservative, and it's because they go, well, we remember a time when socialism was popular and how horrible it was. And, being a Hispanic culture, they don't understand why the younger generations now, they're like, you haven't lived through this before. We've lived through this. Like, yeah, we're Hispanic, and we hate this. and here's why.
I especially enjoyed when people think they're doing something beautiful, and they're actually doing something quite lousy. The Pope gets together with former President Obama, and they decide that they're going to talk and start opening relationships up with Cuba, and they go ahead and give the liquor company back the titles that they stole from Bacardi. They stole those brands from Bacardi, and Obama made a big deal, and that's because he didn't know the history. He had no idea. And he gave them things that they had stolen to begin with.
A young black man from Chicago had no idea how things were. Why am I not surprised?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a whole thing about how he was basically groomed, in politics, and he was told, like, even his wife, because he had never dated a black woman before, and then all of a sudden this becomes his wife.
I believe his wife was a considerable part in the way that and to get him to win and to get him to be successful in politics and to what to say and what not to say and I mean, she will come out and tell you about it, and I mean, there's been all these interviews and things like that but I mean, not only Michelle Obama herself, every first lady. There's a book out there, and I can't remember for the life of me what the title of it was called, but it talked about every first lady and how the first ladies actually ran the country anyway. Like, it was never the president; it was always the first lady behind the scenes, running the way things were.
Absolutely. She's got his ear. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
so, I mean, there's no doubt about it that, a young Barack Obama probably didn't know a whole lot, but, who knew a lot more than he did was his wife.
Well, he was, he was a Harvard educated, and he was Harvard educated, a very smooth talker, and he hit a lot of what he really was, because he was really a very militant, very much about identity politics, and I think he really kind of believes that. He believes that America should be a social justice nation. And speaking of Hispanics, I remember one Latino friend of mine who was from El Salvador, and he said, he voted against him the first time he voted for McCain. He said that anytime somebody is talking about power to the people, he said, I get really nervous because it's not something that turns out good. It usually turns out bad.
So it becomes a dictatorship sales pitch.
Yeah,
come to find out.
Because they're basically what they're saying is, I'm going to give things to you that belong to other people. Hey, let's jump in, by the way, to if we can, to presidential politics. I don't know when but this is the year where rumblings are going to start coming.
Well, we have a confirmed Elizabeth Warren.
Yes, we do.
She's running for president.
We do.
In the next election.
We do. So we got So this is the Washington Post thing. We have number 15, John Delaney, and he's a Maryland congressman, and he's a long shot. He's running as a pro-business New Democrat, and, that's not where the party's at right now. He's kind of like, I don't know if anyone here remembers, like, a Paul Tsongas. If anyone wants to jump in, feel free.
I don't know, Ruthie, do you know who Paul Tsongas is?
I don't care for that era of politics. That's why I'm not jumping in.
And I don't know anything about it.
And then,
probably would know some, but not enough to give an
Of course, we
opinion.
have Michael Avenatti, and
that's quite a character.
He sure is. He sure is. I doubt, though, that he's going to run. I just I don't see.
I hope that the Democrats, they nominate Elizabeth Warren. That would be the best president, or the best president that the Republicans could ever get from the Democratic Party. And you got enough Democrats that are so left-leaning and pushing the socialist agenda and really putting this media hype spin on it. They might put up Elizabeth Warren against Trump, and I hope they do. Man, I would not. It's going to be like a car wreck for the Democrats. I can only watch.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna
the entire time.
I'm gonna go.
I mean, they have so many videos of Elizabeth Warren getting high.
Oh, yeah.
in a house in the middle of nowhere and talking about all kinds of shit. That's nothing to do with politics. They have her getting loaded off like peyote and shit. I would just love to see Elizabeth Warren get put up against Trump. I hope she gets nominated from the DNC. That's my hope.
Well, she is number one. But okay, number 9, former mayor of New York, Michael Bloomberg. And any thoughts on him? I mean, he is a businessman, and he is a former Republican. And
the Democrats' best chance to win in the next election is to not lean so. They need like a Joe Manchin or someone like that who is very moderate Democrat. It's just because the center of the country, in the middle of this country, it isn't going to go for it. And I mean, even in the last election in California, the governor race was split 50-50 in the jungle primaries, to where California is even getting sick of this. And you're in we're in one of the most liberal dominated states ever. There's in the jungle primaries, it should have been a no contest, but we had a Republican running against a Democrat. So if the Democrats thought anything would be good for them, it would be to run with a candidate like Joe Manchin, or a moderate Democrat, even leaning more left than anything. But they're not going to do that. They're going to throw up some ass clown, and you're going to see Trump for another 4 years after that, I feel like. So.
Well, you might be right. So
unless they had Biden run. If Biden ran for president, I think that would be a huge huge competition against Trump.
Nope.
You don't think he's going to run?
I don't think he's going to run.
Biden has too many things he'd rather keep wrapped up, and he can't handle having so much scrutiny.
Yeah.
About the touching of the little girls, that's the least of it. People, do you recall that one of his sons had brain cancer also?
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to run. Don't get me wrong, but I think Biden would be their best chance.
Let me explain something. Once that happened, and he was dying, the grieving widow turned to his brother, and he consoled her. And she's now his woman. He took his dead brother's wife and divorced his own. And Biden approved of all of that. So that, I don't know if they're into polyamory
some
or what the heck.
Shit too. Oh.
But that's really excessive. That
is excessive. I'll agree with that. I'll totally agree with that. But, you can, with the media backing you up and turning a blind eye to it, and only a selective amount of the population turning an eye on that, and that's an easy thing to spin when it comes to voters, I feel like. And you're right, it is creepy. It shouldn't be creepy, but Trump got away with that pussy grabbing comment. Like, he was single. He could. And you don't think that men speak that way? I think they do. I speak that way about men, and I even bring up the pussy part of it, Ruthie. I really
Liz is no prude when it comes to that kind of angle.
No, she's not. But I do think that and I don't think Biden will run. I think because if he has that that's stuff that we already know about. There's probably a lot more, or many more skeletons in his closet. I don't think he'll run, but he would have been the best chance that they had to run against Trump.
When he was the White House, he'd go to the pool, knowing full well that there were men and women working the pool, bringing the towels, and he would walk around naked, and he thought nothing of it. And he especially did it when the women who were working there were present. He liked to shock them. Yeah.
He sounds like a Ted Kennedy.
No, Ted Kennedy just let them drown. That's a different story.
Yeah.
I mean, are there like good naked pictures of him, like really clear, high def? It doesn't matter.
And how about, not forget pictures, how about things that we see with our eyes? Remember what I said when we started the show? I said, you don't punish me for being older and being here, being on the earth longer. I remember being in Miami Beach at a nightclub, and all of a sudden, everyone was told to clear the floor, and bubbles started coming up. Bubbles, like the kind of bubbles.
Were you at a rave?
No. This was Miami Beach. It was a party in a nightclub, and there was
bubbles. Is there like neons?
No, bubbles, soap bubbles, bubbles.
Kind of like Lawrence Welch.
The men took off their shirts and they went on into the bubbles and they danced. And one of them, the paint from his heels and sole washed off with the water. It turned out that the heel and sole were plastic and the paint washed off. And he danced and he was dramatic and he was fantastic and he was wild and he was Latin. And man, was he kicking it. And all of a sudden, now, 30 years later, he's a master politician.
I'm a little...
And he went on TV and he actually started confessing it before someone else brought it up. When he was running against President Trump.
So did he what was he wearing?
What was this?
Well, one of his other jobs was he was one of those guys that dance in a chorus line with the bow tie.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yep. Chippendales?
Awesome.
Yes, he was a Chippendale boy. Yes, he was.
Did you get his number?
No, I got to see him. I stood there as he danced, and I watched him come off the floor, and I watched someone hand him a towel. And he said, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe it! Look, the paint came off my heels and the sole of his shoes," which is true. Then he went on a late night show about 2 or 3 years ago, confessing it. When they were running, he wanted to get it out there before someone else. Like myself, I was present when he was dancing.
And you saw the paint go kind of washing off of him.
But
yes, I did.
The thing is, that might even score him some points from the ladies.
Yeah, I might do a little voting.
Yeah.
Petitions so that I don't have to say the name.
All right. Next up.
Ruthie, contact me later. Do you still have his number? Let's see if we can Let's see if we can get him on an interview here. That would be fun.
Yes.
Not about politics, but maybe about cleaning habits and shower habits. And
yes.
He's very well known. He's an attorney.
Ooh.
And he's a senator of the state of Florida.
Oh my goodness! Is that okay? Hold on. Which senator?
I didn't say.
All right.
Okay, we won't say that here. So you and I will talk about this one later.
I have an absolute idea.
You will find it. You will find it on YouTube where he actually sits. I forget if it was Colbert or who it was with, but he sat and explained dancing in the bubble, and he also danced. He was a Chippendale boy.
He can dance if he wants to.
Yeah, he was a great dancer.
I don't think with Trump in office, he's been married 3 times. He's been having liaisons with porn stars. I don't think any kind of discretion that a Democrat has had is gonna
I feel like I was almost there.
Who said he was a Democrat?
Yeah, no.
Who said he was a Democrat? I don't know. I've heard that Republicans sometimes do it better.
Yeah.
So.
Now, okay. So the next
crying.
Hey, the next person that people are kind of trying to plot out there, number 8. Well, let me see here. Should we go to number 2? Okay. Yeah, number 8, Beto O'Rourke.
His name is not Beto. That's a fake name.
No, you're right. You're right.
And I don't think he'll be put into. I don't think the DNC will have him in there.
I wish PJ O'Rourke would run though.
Yeah. Okay.
PJ O'Rourke's great.
Yeah. The next one is Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio. And
somebody moving a mic.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I had to readjust
Thanks
my.
a lot, JP.
Yes.
He readjusted his underwear and his mic was in the way. That's what you
had
heard.
a wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah. Senator is it Sherrod Brown? She's number 7 on the list. And she's a little bit more conservative. And she is Ohio, but yeah, I don't think she has much of a chance. And then number 6, they have Kristen Gillibrand from New York.
She's very interesting, Kristen Gillibrand, because most Americans only see what she puts out, but they completely ignored that when Trump said he wanted to control who was coming into the country, Schumer and Gillibrand, who go everywhere together, and I mean everywhere, for years. She came out and said, no, we have to help people come in and bypass this ban. So she and Schumer in Italy, when they were in Italy, had come across a fellow from, I think it was Pakistan or was it Bangladesh? I don't remember. In any case, he's a snowshoer. It's in the Winter Olympics, snowshoeing. Apparently it's some type of Olympic sport. So they insist on pulling all sorts of strings to get this guy into the U.S. And they got him into the U.S. Once he got into the U.S. and he's enjoying the state of New York where all of these winter sports are celebrated, he decides that he wants to shove his tongue down the throat of a 12-year-old and his hand down her pants. And he did both, for which he was arrested. That's all online, except people don't want to look at it. And that was Gillibrand herself. She wanted to bypass the law, she did, and then she said nothing. Where was she with the Me Too after she brought this guy here? She hasn't said a word about it. She doesn't talk about it. But I remember it clearly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's also, Hillary, she basically silenced a lot of Bill Clinton's sexual accusers, and one of them that was accused of, who was accused of rape, Anita Broderick. And,
yes, she told her to be quiet, to shut up.
And yeah, nobody really asked anything, and the mainstream media basically kind of ignored that.
And one of the interesting things about mainstream media is, and I'm sure media members are embarrassed to admit this, but they know that it's against the law for a media member to participate in financially, to be investing in a politician. But they did it anyway. And I was wondering, what would happen? I mean, is that prevalent? Is that going on at the Department of Justice, for instance? So I threw in a Freedom of Information Act request, and no, and no. And out of the blue, I asked 6 months later, and some intern that doesn't know any better went ahead and answered my FOIA, put it in an envelope, and sent it to me. It was amazing. It identified on an Excel spreadsheet the actual people by name, the city where they lived, and the state where they were serving for the Department of Justice, who had given money to Hillary while she was running and while they were actual full-time employees of the Department of Justice. And yes, there's an act that I think it's called Logan, but there were laws that they were breaking, and everybody was fine with it. So I just wanted to see who they were. It was amazing. 98% of the staff all of them committed cash to Hillary Clinton's campaign. And maybe 2% or so committed any money to Trump and Bernie Sanders. It was amazing. How could all of those people they just all decided that Hillary should, and by the way, they invested the money 1 to 2 days as their paycheck came in. They were paid on said date, and you could see right after the pay date when they would invest money in Hillary. And it was amazing. How can you possibly be involved in the justice event, be involved in the case, investigating the case of a person whom you're supporting financially? It's impossible. It's impossible. And by the way, I will not tell you anything on this radio show or any radio show that isn't corroborable. If you go to ScribD, you will find the document that I received from the Department of Justice. I posted it there. Anything I tell you is on ScribD.
I know that website really. What's the actual website?
Scribd.com. It's basically for documents.
Oh yeah, that's right. I know it well. Good. Yeah. Okay.
And it's there. It's there. If you look for syndicated news, which is my user ID, you will find that I posted it. How could all these people be wanting to just throw their money at one person? The same thing with the press. They're so angry. Why are they so angry? They're angry because they were promised that they would be the media elite if they would meet with Podesta and Carol Mills and Huma Abedin, and they would have private dinners where they would make their strategy. And they would also illegally financially support Hillary Clinton's.
Really, how much did they think they were going to get away with all of that? Throughout the Obama administration.
Liz, could you give me a place where I can send you links to these documents, because none of them are private, and I don't mind sharing them. I love people to read. These are factual documents. I didn't write them. I didn't create them.
Yeah, I should introduce you to Carol one day. Carol loves all this stuff too. But no, I will send you my email address, and I would love to see these, because that's amazing. But
everything I have said tonight, I have a document that supports what I am saying. I didn't make this stuff up.
I don't think you did at all. In fact, it's always really interesting listening to you talk about it, because you're very right, and you're very very accurate.
One thing that everybody doesn't see is that after every time Ruthie comes on, I get about 20 Skype messages with links to all the points she hits on. It's crazy.
Because I don't talk about anything that hasn't happened.
Great.
And I've actually sat in courtrooms where everything that was said was embargoed. I'll give you an example. I don't know if any of you were probably children then, but do you remember at all OJ?
Oh yeah.
I was a child, but I was old enough to remember OJ, and I watched the whole thing on TV, because even though I was a child, it was dominating the television, all the stations at the time. Yeah, so we all watched it.
And the Bronco drove right past me on Sunset Boulevard where I was working. Not joking. Crazy.
When I was in California for that, we were told to leave our recording devices, everything, outside before we came into the meeting. In the meeting were 3 black politicians that are always promoting all sorts of rights and things of that, black rights and things of that nature, and rightly so. But they were present, and they made it clear that if OJ wasn't cleared, that if OJ wasn't found innocent, that they would burn the country down from California to New York. And they made that very clear. Now, if you don't have it on tape, which none of us did, how could you use that? But we knew it was going to happen.
My dad called that one too.
And no one wanted to believe it. When I was a youngster, I was 17. I worked at a recording studio in New York City. And one of the people that used to come by when we got that Kraft account and that Jell-O account was Mr. Cosby. All of my adult life. Pardon me?
After it was right before Bill Cosby had been charged with everything, all the sexual stuff. He was in Minot doing a stand-up comedy show, and I met him very briefly in a bar, out of all places. And then all of that stuff came out, and I was like, thank God I didn't go home with Bill Cosby.
Well, I'll tell you, I remember having my buzzer, because, I was a kid and I was in Manhattan, so I had to have adult permission. I had to have, my dad used to come to my apartment, all that stuff, because it was my great job to be working in a recording studio. And sometimes people didn't show up, and when they didn't show up, you got to do jingles, and jingles paid very well. So I used to hope people wouldn't show up so I could step in. I loved that. And I remember my doorbell ringing at 4 a.m. And I answered the doorbell. And you know those New York doorbells, you answer and you hear and then you hear the person speaking. And I listened to something that sounded like this. And I thought, what the heck? That's got to be a bum. But I thought, what if it's someone who's sick? So I thought, let me just see. So I stepped down to the lobby, because the lobby I would still be safe and the person couldn't come at me or anything, because it's double doors. And there I see one of the people from the studio, and there is blood from her mouth down her chest. I immediately opened the door, took her upstairs, and she said, and I noticed, remember I was a youngster, and I noticed when you see horrifying things and you're young, you never forget them.
Right.
Her bottom teeth were pointing back.
Oh, my God.
And I said, who did this to you? What happened? And she wrote down the name. And I said, well, first we have to go to emergency. And by the way, I didn't talk about these things because all the lawyers came to Florida to interview me, and you can't talk. You've got to stop writing. You can't talk. Now I can talk. I kept that secret for more than 30 years, almost 40 years. I kept that secret. I never told anyone. And it happened with 2 different people that came to me completely battered, and their, one had the eye socket busted, and I had to take them to emergency, and I was a kid. And it framed the way I lived, because a wonderful man that worked at NBC, and now I can say it, NBC, I don't care, NBC, I'm saying it. They decided that they're going to give him a handler. And the handler said to me, took me by my shoulders and pushed me over to get away from my desk. And he said, you remind me of my kid. I'm going to be like a dad to you. If he's in here, do not drink anything you have on the desk. And in those days, and I don't care if, I'm telling you what happened before some of you were born. There's a flip top on the cans, on the Pepsi-Cola and any other kind of can, right?
Yeah.
Before then, you used to there was no flip top. You used to take a can opener that looked like a V, and you used to push it in on both sides so that the air could come in one hole and you could drink out of the other or pour out of the other. That's how it was done before flip tops. Yes, flip tops did not exist forever. Before then, the can was just a plain can with no flip top, and you used to use a can opener to open both sides. And he said, if anything is open, do not touch it, and I will reimburse you for anything you throw out. Just keep the receipt. And he kept his word. He kept his word. And I remember when we were waiting for some modeling agency to send some kids there, and he would stand at the door. And I asked him, if you feel bad about that, why do you protect it? Why do you do that? And I remember at the time, after certain incidents where people would try to get help from the local police, NYPD in New York City, where one of the attorneys, the young attorneys, would walk through the studio saying, "Don't forget, anybody who wants to be a hero, you could be charged with being an accessory after the fact, just so you know," and then he'd leave. I was so young, I had to find out what an accessory was, other than, a pearl bracelet. And they said that's when you help someone commit a crime. Look it up, people.
You
don't take my word for it.
In your life?
Look it up. Pardon?
Are you looking to adopt an adult in your life?
You may have the perfect female adult for you.
I may be looking for an online mother. I'm just saying. The last one calls me names and didn't work out.
Okay, I would consider it, but you have to stop swearing because you limit yourself when you swear. Well, in private you can swear, but when you're on the air, hundreds of countries cut you off, and you actually diminish your own power because one little SHIT will cut you off from many countries.
Wait a minute, but you can spell it, but you can't say it? Okay, fine.
I'm spelling it because we're on this show, and this show won't get aired because of the swearing that it contains. But I'm telling you, the minute you stop it...
There's literally been one word that was said that I can think of. No.
Liz,
she said Pussy. Yeah, I was trying to tell everyone that, well, for 2019.
This is 2019. That's what you don't know. Maybe I was talking about my cat. I have two.
but let me just say, for 2019, we're going to make it clean. I mean, and the other stuff, we're going to have a website where if you got to pay to hear certain anyway.
Liz is never going to have to pay to hear that.
No, of course not. Well, but that will be in private. But
I'll stop swearing in front of Ruthie if she wants me to. That's fine. Can I talk sexually though? Can I be seductive? Can I maintain my horror? Sorry.
Absolutely.
My seductive status.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You have to. You know what?
Thank you.
You have to keep it.
We can make it work. I won't swear as long as I can be suggestive.
You have to keep it pre-1967. Before the.
I like it.
Yeah, before the rating. Because you can be seductive, but it's got to be like the old films, how they were seductive and they would just hinge at words like, for example.
Put your lips together and blow.
Put your lips together and blow.
You know what? I will put my lips together and blow just for you, Mom.
In the movie,
I'll tell Ruthie a good story.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Where I grew up here in the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, suburb of Los Angeles, there was a little family-run bar, the only bar I've ever frequented, and I went there a lot over the course of a while, and I don't go anymore. But they always had a rule. They still to this day have a rule: no swearing. Any swearing would get you kicked out of the bar, and it was strictly enforced. And it was a great atmosphere. It was always a great party, like place to hang out with your friends, and it wasn't. It was just it made everything a lot better, and on those times when the bartender would enforce it, which was almost every night, it was just like hilarious. It was just amazing. And the nights you got through, you'd hang out there and you wouldn't see the bartender have to enforce it at all. You're like, wow, that's an unusual night.
I'm telling you, it cuts you out of coverage because lots of countries don't have entertainment, and they'll take a show like yours and they'll play it again and again and again 20 times a day, and they're so happy with it. But if you throw swearing in there, it blocks it out completely.
What if the inflection in your voice is you use it as part of being dramatic?
That's perfectly fine. That's even more interesting. The way you speak, suggestive and implying things in the double entendres. That's excellent. It's just the minute you say the F word, it's over. They're going to block you out.
Yeah.
They'll block
Where
you
do
right
I
out.
sign?
And that
give you everything I know about me. Debbie has my docs. She'll forward it to you.
That's right.
by the way,
By the way, in case you're wondering, what I do with cryptocurrency, my interest right now is that we're applying our cryptocurrency to tuitions.
I like it. Actually, I like that a lot. Yeah, actually, they do that already.
Yeah, but we are doing it, what they call putting your money where your mouth is. So we're starting with 500 tuitions. So 500, the first 500, we're covering their tuitions. And anyone who wants to see it, don't think I'm pulling this out of my ear. You can go right to wyith.edu. That's wyith.edu.
That is absolutely amazing. You're an amazing woman.
No, it's just that I've lived longer. That's all it is. And by the way, I actually read the comments. And I saw that one person wrote, "Why are we listening to this battle axe? Why would they eat?" They called me battle axe. Why would
They're
they
probably
eat
talking about me.
there?
They're probably not talking about you, Ruthie.
Right.
I was the only woman. I read everything.
I've seen the comments like that. I know who says it.
Well, and it's so foolish because an older person, it's not funny when they say, well, the difference is, when your car breaks down, you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is when my car breaks down, I use my other car. The difference is when my house is flooded, I go to my other house. You see what I'm saying? That's the difference in age. Like in that movie, the Green Tomato.
Life is all about grace.
Exactly.
It's not the challenges you face. It never has been about the challenges you face. It's all about how you handle them. And if you handle your life with a certain amount of grace, then that's a good life.
And I'm sorry, Ruthie, but anybody that presumes they have nothing to learn from somebody just because they're older than them really needs to take a step back.
There's been times where I've been listening to the show and I've been listening to you, Ruthie, and I haven't been so active in the chat room, but I've had my headphones on and listening to the show, and I have been listening to you since you've been on the show, and I gotta say that I have learned some things, but you're right, JP. There is anybody who doesn't have anything to take from someone who's older simply because they're older doesn't know what they're doing.
And I haven't hurt anyone here. I haven't stepped on anybody's toes. I haven't, for instance, fighting with your landlord. You're fighting with your landlord. I had one girl screaming and yelling and just making a whole big deal at an office, not realizing that I own the building where she lives. And I thought to myself, what an idiot. I think we're going to have to remodel those apartments, especially on the line where she lives. That's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah, and then some of these people, they've called me names before too, and it just is part of
They called him a fat retard.
Yes.
He's not a fat retard.
I mean, can you believe that, Ruthie?
Well,
it's just
ridiculous. That's not very nice, is it? And I agree that is not very nice. And they only do it, Ruthie. And here's the thing that kills me: they only do it because it's not even a matter of disagreeing on topics or political topics or social or economic topics. It's because they're not agreeing with them as a person. And so then they send in the troops to go in and try to belittle them and take them down, quote unquote, like a notch or two as a person and attempt to silence them. And I sit there and I watch this stuff, which you don't have to, please don't ever listen to my shows.
I'm going to help you stop swearing. I have a plan.
I can stop swearing. I'm an accountant.
But I'm gonna. If you're an accountant,
my show's a little different.
This is great. If you're an accountant, then you'll really appreciate this.
Well, I don't swear as an accountant ever in my professional life. It's when I do shows, it's a little bit different. But
you cut loose.
I wouldn't even say my platform's a little bit different than Mr. Midnight Movies, and we'll put it that way.
And I just want to say that we are changing our platform. And I think JP kind of agreed with this, that at least try for a year not to swear, to see if the numbers.
I don't even know if a year. I'm just saying, why swear if it's not totally necessary? I guess there's a point when there is a necessary. I feel like, but if you really want to think forward and think of consequences, as an incentive.
When you think about it, the most swearing that goes on in my show is me mimicking someone else swearing at me.
Okay.
Where I'm playing a character, and it's just to portray a character.
All right,
that's most of the swearing that goes on in my show.
Let's get the
someone else.
Let's get the incentive from Ruthie.
Go ahead.
As you know, I love cryptocurrencies. You know that. I've loved them always. I've loved them for years. And
I don't. I need convincing that it's not something that's going to lead to a real out of control system. I'm not convinced.
Stop it. If you go to an island where the shells are what they use for money, and you show up with a suitcase full of shells, you're the richest man on the island. It's as simple as that. Money has the faith that people have in it. The faith they have in it. PayPal, it's only for prostitution and heroin. Oh my gosh, lots of who? The women in families didn't want their husbands to work with PayPal. Now PayPal is just a regular payment system. But any industry that's seeing a new competitor will do anything they can to block out that competition. They like things the way they are.
Well, I mean, and is anyone here? I mean, JP and I've been really interested about what's going on with Patreon. And there's a YouTuber by the name of Sargon of Akkad. I forget his real name.
I remember. I know, and that fascinated you last time we were on the air too.
Yeah, and I'm wondering what's going to, because from my understanding, Patreon has kind of interfered with PayPal to stop them from getting, because there was Subscribestar that people were going to go to. A lot of the more conservative or moderates were going to go over to this thing, and from my understanding, there was kind of it seemed like there was collusion between Patreon and PayPal to kind of shut down. I forget the name. I can't Star. It's Star. No, I just said it, and I can't even remember it. Subscribestar, and I've heard that
that happens. Those things happen in business all the time.
Yeah, but this to me is serious because it's silencing freedom of speech, and particularly if you go against, and I call it the civil rights industrial complex, it seems like they will shut you down. The social justice warriors, they call them the modern day inquisitors. And if they don't like what you're saying, they will say it's white supremacy or racist, and you will automatically get shut down. And, no debate, no nothing. They just shut you down. And there's not a lot of it doesn't seem like there's a lot of transparency with these people. I could be wrong on that, but I'm hoping.
No.
Yeah.
I remember when everyone was upset about the ugly document, the Fusion GPS, the ugly document against, peeing on the beds that Michelle Obama likes, actually urinated on them, all that nonsense. And I got a copy of that. I knew that was going to blow up. I didn't touch it. I didn't publish it. I didn't do anything with it for years. And in politics, the biggest reward a politician gets is power. They don't want to give it up. They really don't. And they'll go to great lengths to make sure they keep it in hand. If I told you the history that we've had in this nation with our brightest and our most public politicians, you would not want to hear it. And like with Bill Cosby, I would sit in a restaurant and look up, and there was a TV there, and Mayor Bloomberg, in fact, was one of them, and once it was Mayor Lindsay, and they were putting a a medal around Bill Cosby's neck, and I was sitting there, and I would have to go vomit because I knew who he really was. I knew the violence that this man carried. Yet again and again, year after year, the accolades and the talks he would give and the places he'd be invited. It was amazing. It was impressive. And I thought, crime really does pay. This guy's a criminal. I know it because I saw it. And by the way, if you're curious as to, how I knew so much, because that's why people came at me. How do you know what happened to me? You weren't there. How do you know what happened in this case? You weren't there. I'll tell you how I knew. Because he would brag about it to our engineers. And because I wanted to hear, and I was a youngster, I wasn't tall enough to get near the HVAC, so I would have to stand on the toilet. And that's why I knew so much. It wasn't because I was involved. I made it my business, as his assistant from NBC taught me. If he's on the elevator opens up, you don't get in. If you're in the elevator and he gets in, you get out. I was given instructions on how to avoid him, and I followed them, and that's why I was never hurt. But just as Wendy Williams said on her show that he tried to get her fired in radio, he tried to get me fired too.
No way.
Yes, I have and I've had it all my life. I have it right now. I'm using Sucrets to Luden's wild cherry lozenges to help my throat.
Pretty good.
Yes, I have hay fever. I've had it since I was 4 or 5, and it's very, very, it affected me terribly. So I would have, my nose would be pouring water and all the time. And I was using whatever aspirin I could have and blowing my nose, and it was constant. He actually tried to convince my bosses at the recording studio that I was actually taking drugs. And I said, and they called me and they said, are you experimenting with things? I said, no, sir, I don't even know how to smoke. And no, I wasn't experimenting with anything, but in his desperation that he saw that I wasn't cooperative. And another thing that the NBC guy told me was, don't give him any eye-to-eye contact, because then he'll win. Do not look him in the eye. And I never did. But for almost 40 years, I knew this person was a criminal, and the accolades he received were just outrageous. Just outrageous.
Well, I mean, he had one persona that he showed to the public, and then a private, very dark persona that, I mean, just an absolute sexual.
He would come back into the studio on projects that were not even his. They were from another agency, to get the people to change it to the way he wanted. That's how powerful he thought he was. And he would use his power very, very wickedly. He would use his power to get people to do what he wanted. And he knew that he had the power, and he used it. And politicians do the same thing exactly.
Yeah, I mean, he seemed like he was a master manipulator, master controller.
Yeah, and I'm not telling you anything that you cannot look up yourself. Nothing that I told you is exaggerated or has anything extra. What they do is they try to calm things down. I remember that young fella, there were the 2 Coreys. One of them committed suicide and the other one is still alive. And he was telling Barbara Walters, these pedophiles still live in Hollywood. They're still operating. They still attack people, and she wouldn't believe it. And she actually says to him, you're ruining this industry. You're ruining people's reputations. And the kid was right. She was wrong. Then Harvey Weinstein came out.
Yeah, I mean...
And then, Alyssa Milano, she waited a week and a half before she came out. She wanted to check with his wife. Why? Because his wife dresses her up for the red carpets, and she didn't want to blow that opportunity. So she wanted to make sure first that his wife would still dress her up.
Yeah. I mean, and have you seen someone like, I mean...
And you want me to take you seriously?
Yeah.
Don't go and hang out with Linda Sarsour. Don't go and hang out and have your picture taken and think everything's fine. That doesn't make me take you seriously as an actor or anything else. And I gotta be honest. Forgive me for not being politically correct, but I like chefs. I like the artistry. They cook and it's so fine and the sauces. But that's what they do. I don't give a damn what their politics are. And an actor, I care even less. I want them to act. When I go to a restaurant, there's a person that's going to serve the food, the server. That's the person you're going to interact with. I am very kind and very embracing to that server because that person, I don't want them to spit in my soup.
I'm the same way, Ruthie.
And you've got to realize I don't give a damn about that server's politics. I don't care. And don't think that I do.
You must have an opinion on Gordon Ramsay then. What's your opinion on Gordon Ramsay, the great chef who now apparently does exposés on issues as controversial as the production of cocaine? What do you think of a guy like him?
What does that have to do with anything, though? What does that have to do with the food that you're eating when you're at a restaurant?
It's
because I found it.
It's interesting that you brought that up because our fellow from CNN, Anthony Bourdain, remember him?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. He's talking about how he's going to leave his wife and kid because he's got this actress. What was her name? She's got that unusual name. What is it? Argento or Argento, something like that.
Yeah,
anyway,
something.
He goes off with her. And the mother's crying because the girl wants to see dad, and dad doesn't want to see her because he's with his girlfriend. And imagine, and I called to this, by the way. I said he's going to take his life. Why? I said, because one of the people that's just been accused is his own girlfriend, the one that he left his wife and kid for. She's been accused of being a sexual molester to a teenage boy. And sure enough, that week he did take his life.
Do you think that was the reason, though?
Why else? When you're defending having left your child and wife, and you're defending it, and now you're apologizing for your close friends, and your girlfriend is also one of the accused? She is. She's one of the accused. The minute that came out, the next news that came out was that he had taken his life. Remember, he just left his wife and kid for this woman.
Well, I mean, when I wasn't the kid 17 or 15. I mean, these things, there was a time when these things...
No, she was 12 when he left the home.
Okay.
And he was heavily, talking about how it was right and it was the right thing to do because he loved her and justifying it. And how sad that was. He was justifying someone who was no different than Harvey Weinstein. It's just that it was a woman. Teenage boy came right out and said, she molested me while I was doing a movie with her.
How old was he? But he was the thing is, anyone here remember the movie, was it Summer of 42?
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, I guess today that kind of thing wouldn't fly, but it just shows you how times have changed because of
course times have changed.
There were movies about young men having experiences with older women, and it was considered, I guess. It wasn't as serious as something like Lolita. It was something that was kind of. I remember in the movie Honky Tonk Man, Clint Eastwood, plays his uncle, Kyle Eastwood's uncle. Clint Eastwood has is an uncle to a 13-year-old, and he takes him to a brothel, and nothing is really thought about that today. That just wouldn't fly, I guess. But it was, young men losing their virginity at, 17, even 13 years of age wasn't an issue.
I remember Clint Eastwood and everyone they were fawning over the fact that he had come up with this new movie genre, the spaghetti western. That's not why he was in Italy. That's what the American spin machine made it into. Oh, he's got these spaghetti westerns. Whoa. He was there to avoid child support payments. He was there to avoid required DNA. He had several women, including his wife, pregnant at the same time. That's why he went to Italy.
In the 60s?
Had nothing to do with spaghetti western as a movie genre. He just had to make money, so they called those the spaghetti westerns. Again, I don't make this stuff up, people. Look it up.
Ruthie, are you married?
Actually, sadly, my divorce documents showed up this Friday.
I'm going to find you the best husband anyone's ever had. Let me see here.
You know, this is the problem.
I've been divorced too. You don't have to talk about it, and please don't. If
no, not that. What I'm saying is, when you are in a position where everything's a struggle, then you're looking for a husband because you want safety and you want financial security and things of that nature. But I don't need any of that. So
I know.
I focus on is educating people who can't afford to go to school.
That's a strange thing that you said that. When you're in a position where you're like, I don't really need anyone. Let's see if someone pops up. It is like you kind of look at life a little bit differently. That is very true and a very accurate statement. But I just know that there has to be someone that is just dying to be with you. You're amazing.
I went through my pretty woman moment, not as a woman with the lifestyle, not at all. I have my Ludens in my throat.
Sweat for a second.
But I went to shop. I owned Domain Avenue, which, by the way, it's now flourishing. I moved it to Hong Kong. It's been there forever, for decades. Excuse me. And I went to shop, and the young lady didn't want me to shop there because she didn't think I was wealthy enough. And it was very embarrassing for me. And it actually hurt my feelings. It hurt my feelings. I was in Manhattan, and this little shop was on a block in Greenwich Village. And I put the building under contract. I said, I think I'd like to buy that building. I only did it to put it under contract, insisting that the sidewalk had to be repaired. I did that on purpose so that business couldn't go into that shop. So I did it on purpose. It was wrong. It was mean-spirited. But I could afford it, and I did it.
You know what?
Well, once again, emotions don't speak to your wallet. I'm sorry. I know that seems like it is mean-spirited, and it probably was mean-spirited, but that is not abnormal in the world of business. Yeah. And then in the world of competition.
I'm going to use a swear word. Payback is a bitch.
He swore.
Yeah, well, no.
That's why she'll never be your mother, Mr. Midnight Movies.
Oh, my mother's passed away.
You can't have her anyway. I've already claimed her as mother.
I'm a 49-year-old orphan. Both my parents are passed away.
Well, when I marry you, Ruthie, maybe we can all just have holidays together. We'll leave it at that.
That's great. I think I'd love to travel the world with you guys. And just
now, my schedule is this. I'm an American. I live in the United States. But my work, my offices where I conduct serious work on a regular basis, one is in Australia, one is in Mexico City, and the other is in Hong Kong. So all of the night I'm working, and then I try to rest during the day.
My family used to go to business in Australia all the time. Hong Kong, that would be very interesting. Do you travel out there often, like now, or is it strictly?
No, we're doing all the business on Skype. I just got back from Australia a week and a half ago, and I caught I was sitting next to someone who was ill, who needed penicillin, and I gave him penicillin. I got him well. His family wrote to me and said, "Thank you for helping our father, but I still have the cough. He's probably fine."
It's amazing. Does this joke ever get old in Australia? Maybe the dingo ate your baby.
Now, by the way,
how awful that is, isn't it?
Well, it's from Seinfeld.
What was it, 12 years in prison?
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of Australia, I've been interested in what's going on in South Africa, and I just heard that someone just told me that that Australia voted down giving white South Africans refugee status, which I think is a shame, by the way. I think both, the Western world should give white European South Africans refugee status and leave that racial vendetta nation. But I just wanted to mention that I heard that happen. I don't know if anyone has any more information on it. I was hoping that
I don't follow that.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping that Australia would do that, but I hear that they're not, and that to me is a shame. I would love to see, by the way, and I also would love to see Senate hearings, as we did have Senate hearings on apartheid. I don't know why we don't have Senate hearings on what's going on in South Africa and hear from the people and have a debate on it, because
frankly, it's none of our business. We are not the policemen to the world. We can't afford to be. You've got to stop that nonsense.
Well, I mean, we do give money to that nation. I mean, we do give foreign aid to that nation, and businesses give things to that nation. So, to me, in that respect, and I do believe that whites are being persecuted over there, they would be the one exception that I would like to see them given refugee status. And that's the only group. I mean, I know that there are other persecuted groups, but I just, and I also believe that people call South Africa, to a degree, the canary in the coal mine for Western nations. That that we will, that people of European descent will start to be, as they start to become the minority in their countries where they were the majority, they will begin to be treated in the same fashion.
Possibly.
And I think that we need to, I think that's a conversation that we need to have, not only in America, but throughout the Western world. I think I just think it's a good debate and bringing it to the light. And one of the things that the United States does do is it is a beacon for the world. And we did, the United States, we did have Senate hearings, from my understanding. Joe Biden was on one of the panels grilling some of the leaders of South Africa. I don't know why we can't do that again. If we did that in the late 80s and early 90s.
Why?
What do you mean? Why? Yeah, that was my question.
It was under,
why?
Because
why?
It was under apartheid.
So what?
Yeah, and?
There's horrible things going on everywhere. There are horrible things going on in Minnesota. In Minnesota, they're doing genital mutilation.
Oh, no,
absolutely correct.
I absolutely
understand.
Worried
about South Africa? I don't care about South Africa. I'm concerned that in Minnesota they're putting kids splits. That is serious.
I am concerned about. I am concerned about what's going on in South Africa, and I know that there are horrible things going on in the world. But our nation helped. Our nation in the West helped put the regime that is there in power. We put pressure, along with other Western countries, on South Africa to take away the power of the white majority. So I think, since we helped that mess, we need to explain what's going on, and I think it's part. And like I said, part of the civil rights industrial complex. It needs to, it needs to be put to the light, in my opinion. And a lot of people within the civil rights community kind of stand in solidarity with the blacks who murder the white farmers.
That's too bad. But I'm really more concerned with what's going on in this country.
I think, but I think, like I said, what's going on in this country, I think that like I said, what's going on in this country is censorship. Right now, what seems to be going on in this country is heavy censorship. And
didn't you enjoy Mark Zuckerberg going to Congress? Wasn't that cute?
Yeah, I don't know how much was accomplished by that,
Nothing was accomplished. Sheryl Sandberg was home hiring the same companies that Hillary hired to screw over Trump. She was hiring the same people to dig up dirt on the Intel committee members that were going to question Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, can you imagine? And when I tell people racism at the bottom core, if you go to a newspaper and you see an apartment and it says that it's available and a white couple shows up and it's available for them, but when the black couple shows up, they say, no, it's rented already. That's direct racism. But what about if you could make it so the blacks didn't even see your apartments were available? Wouldn't that be pure and perfect racism? Because then they didn't even see it, so they can't even come and try out for it. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's exactly what Mark Zuckerberg does at Facebook, and he still does it.
Well, he's probably, like I said, there's a lot of hypocrisy there. And a lot of these people that do this also probably talk about white racism. And it's basically the poor, because the wealthy can live in these neighborhoods where they shut out blacks, but it's the poor that have to deal with the racial vendettas that a lot of these minority groups put upon whites. And
look at the border. Oh my God, 2 children died there. If you bring children to a dangerous condition,
yes,
I don't care where it is, they're gonna die. That's the reality of it. You want to really make it work? You really want the Democrats to go to the hospitals, find really sick kids, and bring them on up because they're gonna die along the way or something.
I really feel like the logical person understands that, though, and even though we don't talk about it and people aren't on MSNBC and all this kind of, like, they're not talking,
talk about it.
That's the media. But I feel like the logical person between you and I, when we walk on our doors and when we talk to people on the phone, if these topics come up, that is a logical response and the logical conversation we have with each other is that you are bringing a child into a dangerous situation and that child died. In the United States, if you were to do that with your own child, say, for whatever reason, bring them into a dangerous situation and let them loose and something were to happen to them, you, the one who brought them into that scenario, is the one who gets charged with child endangerment. You are the criminal. Here they want to give the people that send these children across the river fucking, I'm sorry. I retract that last swear statement, but I get very passionate about this. These people who put these children in rivers and send them across the border in dangerous scenarios, they want to give them citizenship and residency here. Whereas Americans, we'd be charged with child endangerment and everything else, and be sent to prison.
Absolutely, we'd go to prison if we did that. If we dragged a kid through a river.
Yeah, we absolutely. Spanking your child in California is going to get you arrested.
The Uber driver. Remember the Uber driver? He dropped the teenager off in Harlem. He was arrested for child endangerment.
But if you're not from here, go stick your toddler in a river on its way to the United States and then get granted residence here because all you wanted was what? You wanted a job? Or whatever your excuse was, but they're not going to charge you with any sort of child endangerment, anything. They're gonna pour pity on you. They're going to turn it into this media frenzy and make everyone feel bad who is supposed to be here. About you not being here, and a child died now at the hands of the federal government. The way that they spin this stuff, just blows my mind. It absolutely
I
blows
was
my mind.
very grateful that Obama used the cages because caging the top of where they were
He
sleeping
did use the cages. You're right.
stopped the teenage boys from having sex with the little toddlers, and that's what happened. You put a bunch of people in a box, they're gonna jump each other. That's what happens. It's human nature.
Yeah, it is. And
So
and
what
people
happened?
that are so willing and so quick to break these laws and to do whatever it takes, they're not of sound mind most of the time. You'll find that the ones that have come through and get their residency before they get citizenship status, because it's not as difficult as you would think to come across our border and go to work.
No, it's not.
It is not that hard to do that. It is hard to get residency here. It's hard to get citizenship, and I'll agree with that fully. It is not hard to come from Mexico and come work here on immigrant status. And so the fact that these other people are coming through and in the name of working or whatever they're saying that the media is putting out there for you to listen to, and they're doing these things and they're hurting other people in the interim, you have to question their motive as why they're doing that. And you are completely ignorant if you are not questioning these caravans coming through.
DNA, how long did that last? It lasted 3 days. Why? Because 90% of the children being brought in by the adults were not the parents.
Yeah.
It was a public relations fiasco. So they stopped it. You never heard another word about DNA.
Yeah.
Now let me tell you something that a drug dealer told me. We interviewed this fellow in McAllen, Texas, when he was in a trial. By the way, what was I doing in McAllen, Texas? I was in Texas because I was covering a trial of the heck is this gal's name? See, I didn't care for the music. It was like pop Mexican music, and he said he brought the drugs in for 30 years into the U.S. from Mexico, and he made a certain level of money. But when he started bringing in people, children especially, that was really 20 times more profitable, because he said this to me. He said, "You know about drugs, right?" And I said, "Actually, I don't." "Well, you know about taking drugs?" And I said, "Actually, I don't." "Well, when you take drugs, you're a consumer." "Okay, good enough. But you can only consume that drug one time." I said, "What's your point?" He said, "When I have a toddler and offer that toddler for sex, I could use that toddler till that toddler's 10 or 15. And I thought, oh my God, how true and how ugly. And absolutely true. If they use a child or a young woman for sex, they get paid again and again and again, multiple times. And she can be used for sex 10, 15 times a day within a 24-hour period. But the drug, once consumed, brings in no further revenue. Do you get it? Get your calculators out. Do the math. The drug can be consumed one time. Just one time.
Yeah.
It's shocking what I just said. I apologize. I didn't mean to get you upset, but...
So are we moving into your house or my house, or where are we going to make this family arrangement work?
So
we'll start with holidays at your house.
So let's get down.
We'll switch off on New Year's and Thanksgiving, 4th of July, wherever the weather's most permittable.
Before we do that, let's get down to some more predictions. We were down to number 5 on the presidential thing. Senator Cory Booker. Number 5.
Cory Booker. And I can't believe he's still in office.
Yeah. Well, hey, there's a lot of stuff rooming around about him and about his sexuality and, just a lot of rumors. Ruthie, do you have anything to say about Senator Cory Booker from New Jersey?
He's bi.
I've heard that. Yeah.
He's bi, yes.
Will he be invited to the house? Kidding.
No, he's not invited to our new family home unless he promises to leave his weapons at the door.
Yes. Now, we've already talked about number 4. They say, and we've already talked about him, former Vice President Joe Biden, and yeah. Now, number 3 is someone we should both know well, me and Liz and JP, Senator Kamala Harris.
I know a lot about her.
Really?
Yes, I do.
What's your opinion? Would you allow her to dinner?
Ruthie? We know ours.
Yeah.
She would turn dinner into a nightmare. She'd be that she turned it into every Christmas with every horrible relative you've ever had.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you the facts. You can, like I tell people, and I'll tell you why it happened. When I was a young girl, I covered for a friend of mine who was in trouble. And I covered for her to keep her safe. And then she threw me under the bus.
No.
After that, for the rest of my life, I learned that lesson. I was a young girl, and I learned the lesson for the rest of my life. I don't say anything I can't prove. I don't ask you anything unless I have the document behind my back.
Yeah.
After the document has arrived and it's in my hands, then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that if someone's been thrown, 30 charges, that doesn't mean that all 30 charges are going to be, are going to be piled on this person. Maybe 5 or 6 will stick. But I use the actual legal document, the legal brief, to back up what I'm saying. And I still do it. I don't talk about anything that I can't prove. Kamala Harris was doing her boss.
Oh
yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And she also had to compete with his Russian mistress. He was doing her too.
Mm-hmm.
And his wife was dying of cancer. And he was 60 years old and she was in her 40s. And she made it a point to tell his wife that she was his lover, was his mistress.
I bet you, Ruthie, that Kamala Harris smells weird after sex.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
but it's the thing that really happened. That's not a.
Yeah,
I believe that though.
Yeah, and by the way, Kamala Harris seems like a really mean, vindictive, just nasty person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
she does. She seems like there isn't anything.
Why would you make a dying woman
pushing
know?
an agenda?
Yeah.
Why would you make a dying woman know that you're doing her husband?
Oh. Yeah.
Why?
Terrible.
She would be. You know what? I'm going to tell you something.
Sorry.
I would not want her to be our president. I would almost want to leave the country.
I don't think that America would ever have her as president unless she made some serious changes in personality and she skipped through some generations to where a lot of people forgot how she was at one point.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by I keep my mouth shut more than I talk, but I lived through these things while you guys were children.
Yeah.
I was alive,
Yeah.
and I was sitting there. I remember going to Arkansas, and Hillary was the first lady of Arkansas. She was so proud. And it was Easter. So they had all the little children digging and looking for eggs. And now all the children were removed, and then they brought in the second set of children. These children were maybe 1 or 2 years younger. They were toddlers of 2 and 3 years of age. And these toddlers were suffering. They were born with Down syndrome. And Hillary comes outside. And I'm not telling you I read this somewhere. I'm telling you I heard it through my ears because she was 3 feet from me when she screamed it. I had to console the mothers. I had mothers crying in my arms. She said to the security, they were there, get these F word, ing, retards off my F-ing lawn. She said that. She said that. She wanted those, what I just said. That came out of her mouth.
Yeah, well, I could imagine that. I mean, I've heard, like, yeah.
I couldn't. I was depressed all day. I didn't think she would say something so vulgar about toddlers. And she said it in front of their mothers.
She's like a Cosby. She has a public persona and she has a private.
Did you hear her the other day when she said all blacks are alike? Oh, yes, they are.
Yeah.
She said.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, she and she can't hide it.
I put the video on Twitter.
Yeah. Kamala Harris. I mean, like, God, now Hillary Clinton. Yeah. I mean, as she grows older, she can't hide the nasty person she is. Kamala Harris certainly cannot hide the nasty person she is. Now, number 2 on the list, they have as Bernie Sanders. Does anyone think that he will be the nominee for?
No, he's too old.
I think he's too old, and I think there's a social media liking to him, but I don't think, I mean, you have it in your typical states. You have New York and California and things like that. I don't think in the majority of the population he is actually popular. And
sorry,
ain't happening.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a really big following, and a lot of people are going to be.
But I follow him because I like to see what he's saying. You have to stop looking at the following numbers because people do follow to be informed, not necessarily because they agree or like. Yeah. And I follow a lot of people that I don't agree with and I don't like just to see what they're saying and maybe change my own mind or opinions on subjects because you don't ever want to just follow things that you like.
Yeah. Now
you don't.
Yeah. Now, Senator Elizabeth Warren, of course, she is the number one, and we've already talked about her.
I think that's adorable that she thinks that she's an Indian because she has high cheekbones, and then she has a DNA test, and she comes out 2,000% Indian. If I were 2,000% of anything, I wouldn't even mention it.
Yeah, I mean, God.
How embarrassing! How sad!
That is embarrassing for her, considering the YouTube video she has out there, where she sits with Native Americans, and
oh my God, I wanted to die.
And she just wasted with them. She literally so the one thing you do when you're claiming to be Native American is that you get on video and you go get wasted with Native Americans. That's terrible. That's a terrible thing to do. I don't even know where to begin.
Politicians do that. Look at the new one, the new socialist Ocasio.
That one, she
now she showed up at a Sephardic temple claiming she's Sephardic.
Oh Jesus. No.
She did, and she's dancing and dancing. I couldn't believe it.
The New Yorker.
Mm-hmm.
You know what though? You had to hand it to her.
You remember that lovely?
You had to hand it to her though, and as ridiculous as this woman is, and New York is kind of a creature of its own. So is California, and things like that. And as ridiculous as this woman is, the reason why she got into the spot that she's in is because she hit the pavement. And she went out and she talked to people and she played her politics the way she needed to play them to get elected. And so I don't think that she's stupid at all when it came to strategy.
No, because I remember Annie Leibovitz, very famous photographer, took her picture. And you can find it all over the internet where the caption says, here is Ocasio with her boyfriend, her roommate, her boyfriend, so-and-so, and they're sitting there in the room together, but she ran as a lesbian.
Yeah.
She ran as a lesbian.
Now, you know what? I mean, and there's one dark horse. She just won as Arizona, and she is bisexual. She might be full lesbian, but she ran as she was a bisexual congressman. Now she is a bisexual senator, Kristen Sinema.
I don't know her. I have to go study her.
Oh, well, we did a whole show on her, by the way, and I think I find her very attractive, and I think she will be. I think that she will run. I'm predicting that, and it will be, in my opinion, if she does, it will make the 2020 election very interesting, and I think JP would agree with that.
Yep. Yeah, definitely agree on that one. So we got a very lively chat room tonight. I want to thank our guests. I don't know how many more questions Mr. Midnight
I have one for Mr. Midnight Movie, and Ruthie, and you were absolutely amazing. Mr. Midnight Movie, and I'm bringing this up only because I was chatting about it in the chat rooms. Do you have Netflix?
Not yet.
Yeah, this is amazing.
This is amazing.
We're going to
so
talk about this.
Have you ever read? I have Netflix.
Have you ever read those books where you choose your own adventure?
No, I don't.
Back when we were kids.
Back when you were a kid, and you get to a part in the book, and you go. They give you're in a scene, and they give you the option to.
Some of the old Hardy Boy books had where the ending
you get to choose the ending.
Right.
So Netflix has come out with a movie called Bandersnatch, and it's about Mind Control Producer, which is actually really interesting.
Oh, it's a trip. I did this 2 nights ago. It was absolutely amazing.
And
I was on there for 2.5 hours.
And the movie itself is about mind control, and the character realizes he's being controlled by the audience at some points during this whole thing, and he tries to fight it, and there's a struggle with it. But Netflix has now come out with a movie called Bandersnatch, to where they give you the option to choose what happens in the next scene. And if you don't choose it, chooses it for you, and the movie goes on. And you can change the outcome of the movie and change the scenes based on what you've selected throughout the movie.
So you literally have thousands of different options for how the show can go. It's just crazy.
And sometimes, and when you choose something to where the book or the movie ends like abruptly, they give you the option to go back and change a different selection or end the movie. And so they took those choose your own adventure books that we used to read as kids, and they turned it into a movie. And you can literally, with your remote control, change the movie that you're watching based off of the scene that you choose to happen next, or the actions of the character that you choose to happen next. And I thought this would be really cool for Mr. Midnight Movie, considering he's Mr. Midnight Movie.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that almost slipped my mind, and it blew my mind. I couldn't believe I was doing it for a minute there.
I loved it, and it was awesome to be interactive. They come to a part in the movie, you'll see it, and you might pick up on the hints. But there's a part in the movie where the character goes, I'm the author, I'm the creator, because he creates video games. He goes, at the end of the day, they can choose whatever they want. I control everything. And when you hear him say that, you'll figure out how to actually end the movie, which is really interesting for someone watching the movie to go through, and someone who's been choosing and selecting how the scenes will play out in the movie to go. I highly recommend it. It's a production by Black Mirror. So if you've never seen the Black Mirror series, that's what I'm way into. I love the Black Mirror episodes and things like that. That's like the Twilight Zone, but very modern. But Black Mirror came out with this movie called Bandersnatch. It's one word. And it's a choose your own adventure movie they have out on Netflix, and I am so for it. It's amazing. I think everyone should go watch it.
Everyone's in love with it.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I wasn't into it at all. When someone put it in front of me, I was like, nope, not doing this. Like, I'm way too tired for this. And then I started hearing things from it, and then hearing repeat parts, and I'm like, what is going on? Why do I keep hearing the same thing? And it's because when someone chose something, if it led to an abrupt ending and they didn't choose to go to the credits, then they can go back and re-choose the scenario from a certain scene. Yeah, you're right. It is really awesome, and it'll keep you entertained for hours completely brilliant strategy on the behalf of the creators. Absolutely brilliant. So that's all I have for you guys.
Well, folks, hey, you know what? I just want to add one more question before we end this, and I don't know if you guys have even heard of it. You know, John Kasich, the former governor of Ohio, has been rumbling about that he may run as an independent in 2020. Anyone have any comments on that? If not, that's fine. And then I'm going to end with if anyone has any predictions for 2019 that maybe are dark horse or anything, or any hopes for 2019. So anyone hear about John Kasich, the former governor of Ohio, his rumblings about running for the president in 2020?
Most of these people have never held an actual job. They like being politicians because it gives them a very secure salary. They got the best medical insurance in the world.
They were told by their parents that politics is the way you should go, and that being a salesman, can be successful.
And they enjoy that power, and they don't have to be quiet and not act on hearing information that has to do with a serious stock. They can actually apply it to their own portfolio, and it's perfectly legal. We would go to prison, like Martha Stewart went to jail over that.
Absolutely. And politicians are also, especially the younger ones coming up, were taught and told that they can literally lie to people as long as it's something that people want to hear. It's the best form of advertising that you can give, because you can look at people false advertising this and this, and nothing really ever happens to them. But they were taught that essentially you could lie and still keep your job as long as you're the best at it and you smile and people like you. And if people like you, it doesn't matter how bad you are at your job, how terrible of a job you do, if you're a criminal. If people like you, you're secure.
Isn't that terrible? But that's
terrifying.
It's the
My
absolute
parents taught
truth.
me that about politicians.
It's absolutely right.
As long as people like you, then you'll be just fine.
All right. Okay, I got to wrap it up because I got to get up at like 3 a.m. Today to do
When
my
we
work.
get married, our schedule will change, Mr. Midnight Movie.
But okay, so any predictions? I'm going to go around the room, and then I'm going to put my prediction out there. So Liz, we'll start with you. Any predictions on 2019 that we haven't touched on?
Not anything I haven't seen. I'm pretty sure Debbie will be the same, whether she gets admitted or not. I don't really know. I think the stock market, I've given my predictions on the stock market. I think great things are happening for this show. I don't know, Ruthie, she's a really strong character to have on this show. Ruthie, a pleasure. I hope we do this again.
I enjoyed. I also missed you when you weren't on, and everybody did.
I will stop swearing so much.
And you have no idea how it'll catapult this show. It really will. Because the combination of people and personalities you have here now interest people my age, your age, and all through in between. And that brings in a wide audience if you have enough participation. But if you only have a bunch of teeny boppers or a bunch of millennials, everybody then all thinks one way, and they, oh my God, isn't politically incorrect, cover my ears. But we have enough people here that have enough grit and spinal cord that I think we could hold an audience. I really do.
I really agree. I really think there's a lot of value to that. I think you have some very, very sound advice, and it was really good being on a show with you finally. So that's amazing.
I was waiting for you. Everybody kept saying, we miss Liz, and then I went and I heard the former broadcasts, and I loved them. I wished I had an opportunity, and here we are, New Year's Eve.
Here we are.
New Year's Eve, and we're in California. We're about an hour away from the ball dropping. How do you feel about fart noises, though, Ruthie? Is that we are okay with fart noises?
You
maybe
are
some other day.
We would never.
I know. I would never want.
We are changing our format
here,
Liz. Now, come on, jeez.
I am in love with Ruthie. I swear, we're doing holidays together one year. It might not be this year, might not be next year, but there will be some holiday action going on. And
my next trip will likely be Hong Kong. That's probably my.
We will have to all do Christmas in Hong Kong.
We will go to. You know what? We will recreate the movie Enter the Dragon.
That's right.
I'm playing Bruce Lee.
Fight to the death.
JP is going to play the guy with the claw, and he's going to get.
We're going to make it to the top of that temple if it's the last thing we do.
Yeah, your drug smuggling days are over on that island. But
so I don't have any further. I guess to answer the question, I'm so sorry to distract. I don't have any further predictions. We'll see how it goes.
My predictions are that President Trump will take it again because he's strong and people like feeling protected. And there's nothing that makes me feel more unprotected than someone to tell me, oh, the back porch door is open and I'm supposed to go to sleep and everything's fine. No, everything's not fine. The door's open. Same thing with our border. Until we secure those borders, and let me tell you something embarrassing. A white man does not know the difference between Shumar Baruch and Jose Manuela de Liscosa. They don't know the difference. If I take a Hispanic man and a Middle Eastern man and I dress them the same and I shave them the same and I bathe them the same way, give them the same haircut, a white man doesn't know the difference. So it could be a guy walking in from Habichuelas, Mexico, or it could be a terrorist, and the white man won't know the difference. We've tested this again and again, and they don't know the difference.
Liz, could you tell the difference between an El Salvadorian and a Mexican?
Maybe.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Only because I have friends that are El Salvadorian, and I wouldn't be able to tell you by the way that they talk, but by their demeanor.
How about the borders? They go to other countries in Central and South America. They marry different people from different countries, and it's normal.
I know, and I'm only saying this, and I don't think in general I would agree with Ruthie. I think in general, no, you couldn't. Me personally, just by demeanor, my story is a little bit different, and I may have some family members that are El Salvadorian. So a little bit different coming just from marriage and things like that, not because I'm El Salvadorian at all. But in the older generations, I guess if I were to walk up to a person and no, I probably wouldn't be able to tell.
What about you, Ruthie?
Could I tell the difference?
Yes.
Depending on the age, because as you
age is a huge thing.
And you marry, you're going to start changing your dialect. You're going to change once you move to the border. Now the border has a dialect and a different, slang, and you start picking that up. And not every person knows what the history of an individual is, especially if you're coming from a war-torn status where you have to be quiet about who you are. We forget all the Jews that fled into Central and South America. Even Cuba had a temple. And you've got to remember that they had to be quiet and not allow the soldiers to know where they were. So they had a tendency to take on the culture where they were living, take on the language, the clothing, everything, so that they could stay out of trouble. In the United States, World War II ended, but the Nazis continued flourishing beautifully in Latin America. And the Americans were totally unaware of it. Totally unaware.
Yeah.
Look at how foolish it was that when the Germans wanted to show that these children were not really being treated poorly, they dressed them up, they washed them, they put little dresses on them, little cute caps on them, and, oh, look at the children in the kindergarten. Those kids hadn't eaten in weeks. They wanted to have the American politicians walk through the death camps and look at all the good things that were going on there. And what did they bring out? All the musicians. Let's have them play, the orchestra. That's the first time they had clothing in months.
Yes. Well,
that's so right.
That they go through. It's like when they went to Guyana. They thought that they were going to go over there and be tough, and anyone who wants to come with us, get on the plane. Really?
Yeah.
Jones had everybody shot. Remember?
Yeah. Anyway, I gotta get myself to bed. JP,
Ruthie, you've been on point all night. Thank you so much. Same with you, Liz. Been on fire. It's been a great night.
Yeah.
Jewish producer, a pleasure as always. Ruthie, I hope we do this again. You were absolutely amazing.
By the way, Happy New Year if you live in Arizona or in that time zone, because just turned midnight
it's
there.
2 a.m.
Yeah, you're already Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
It is 11
2 hours ago.
my time.
I came to help Midnight Movie Man. I asked him, did you get enough people on? And he said, and I said, well, then I had no choice but to help you.
I'm putting this everywhere. Well, not only is Mr. Midnight Movie an amazing host and Jewish producer and scene dog, they do an amazing show. I'm glad you came in and gave him that boost. Ruthie, you were absolutely amazing and just so full of awesomeness and knowledge. It's absolutely my pleasure to be hanging out with all of you tonight.
Liz, I'm not telling you anything that isn't. You can corroborate everything I've said. It's all online. Go to Scribd if you want to see the documents. I have a database that Hillary kept of all the people from around the world that illegally gave her money. And when her files were thrown out on the internet, people didn't bother reading them. Read them. Mr. Movie Midnight, I think I sent them to you. Didn't I send you the database and everything?
Yeah, and I've been looking it over. It was pretty.
Look at the titles. Look at the countries they're from. Look at the titles. Generals and captains from the military from other countries were giving her money.
Yeah.
You think that's legal?
No, but she won't get. Yeah, I mean, she's not gonna be prosecuted. JP, do you have, before I end the show? Do you have
my prediction?
We're gonna have to get together.
I'm going to say that the whole censorship.
I'm easy to reach.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think this censorship thing is going to continue to come to a head. We're not done getting into. I think a lot more people are going to start opening their eyes and start realizing they can't say things they used to say, and it's not just Generation X and older. It's some of those younger people are kind of aware of that too. So things are changing rapidly.
I'm not that young.
Yeah.
The other day they had.
I will start watching my potty mouth.
Yes.
Good for you. Good for you.
That's a New Year's.
I don't normally in real life go around swearing this much anyway. It's just mostly for entertainment. And then, of course, you get in front of a mic and things go a little bit different when you're trying to produce entertainment things. But I will, on the mic, start canning the potty mouth.
If you want to help this show, all of us, if you want to help this show, and you stop swearing, you're going to notice that you're going to be allowed in formats that you never knew existed, and hundreds of countries will say yes. We'll re-air that.
I have no contest to that. I just want to be able to talk about sitting on Mr. Midnight Movie's lap from time to time.
Yes,
nothing wrong with that.
We will do a show with you sitting on my lap. By the way, I'm hoping that 2019 there will be peace on Spreaker. I want everyone to get along. And I also want to say that January 21st, and I know you guys some of you guys aren't in favor of that, but I am going to be holding, even if it's by myself, a one-man rally about what's going on in South Africa with the South African farmers and also the people of European descent being subjugated the way they are. I think it's disgraceful. I think our government needs to look into it. We need to have debates on it on as many formats as we can. And anything else to add before I end this puppy? And also, I just want to say,
yes, I'm going to add one last thing.
Yes.
That is that I totally disagree with one of our commenters that she means a great deal to Liz. I think that's the funniest thing I've ever read. So over to you, Mr.
Yeah. If you do read the comments, that's my ex-mother.
You're going to see some silliness.
And my ex-online mother, and she's very upset at me. And I'm so sorry.
Yes.
We won't talk about her at the holidays ever.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about her.
I've learned to forgive and forget. I forgive and forget everything and everyone.
That's
always have.
You're going to get the biggest display of holiday flowers anyone's ever seen, Ruthie.
Yes.
That's just the way it's going to be from now on.
But I want to add that throughout each month, I would love to have a panel show for predictions of each month, what's going to happen in the world of entertainment and in the world of politics. Just a kind of a monthly wrap up of what's going on in the world, and we're gonna try to get more like different online writers and things like that, and just different celebrities just to bring onto the panel and have some fun. So anyway, that does it for our show. That wraps it up, and I want to thank you all for joining us, even the haters. Hopefully you learned something. I did, and I had a lot of fun. So I want
to. Somebody send me the link, please, so that I can hear, so I can go see the haters and see what they said.
I'm going to give you my phone number. I'm going to give you Debbie. Can you please forward Ruthie my docs, since you have at least some of it?
All right. Yeah, and I will send you. I'm going to send you the link in the chat room of the show.
I'll send it over to her right now.
Oh, you want to do that right now while I end this? I'm going to end this puppy. And by the way, we're also on YouTube, so I might send you the link on YouTube, because you don't have to on YouTube. You don't have to listen to the commercials. So this is also on YouTube. Thanks everyone for listening. It's been a rather good time. So hopefully we can have good things happen in 2019.
Well, folks, this is the best show on Blog Talk and the best show on the internet. Shut up! Nobody, and I mean nobody, tackles issues like inflammatory talk. Shut up! And Mr. Midnight Movie. Shut up! And Jewish producer.
Hello, son.